U.S. President Donald Trump has officially designated the left-wing Antifa movement as a domestic terrorist organization. The announcement comes in the wake of the shocking assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk on September 10th. Trump's executive order describes Antifa as a militarist, anarchist enterprise that calls for the overthrow of the United States government using violence and terrorism to suppress free speech. The order targets anyone acting on behalf of Antifa or providing material support to the group. Trump has repeatedly threatened action against Antifa, blaming it for violence against police and even the January 6th Capitol riot. Critics warn the designation could be used to suppress dissent and target political rivals. The order follows the murder of Charlie Kirk, killed at a Utah university by 22-year-old Tyler Robinson. Authorities say Robinson cited hatred he believed Kirk spread as his motive. Antifa, short for anti-fascist, traces its roots to the 1930s Germany and has a history of confronting far-right groups. Activists often wear black, mask their identities, and engage in civil disobedience, sometimes resorting to violence in what they call self-defense. From violent counter-protests in Charlottesville to black-clad demonstrations in Washington during Trump's inauguration, Antifa has remained a controversial force in American politics, sparking debates over the limits of protest, free speech, and domestic security. With this latest designation, the U.S. government signals a crackdown on left-wing activism, a move certain to deepen divisions in an already polarized nation.
What comes next after designating Antifa a terrorist
organization?
organization?
We're going to designate too, but we're going to look at the people that funded Antifa, see who they are, where they came from, and why they did. Have you seen Portland at all? Have you taken a look what's happening in Portland? It's, I mean, this has been going on for years. It's just people out of control. They're crazy. We're going to stop that very soon. We have to get rid of a couple of other problems first. We're going to get rid of the problems in Memphis where you can't even walk a block without getting shot. We're going to get rid of the problems in Chicago. Chicago's a great city and we have to save it. We have to save it. I told you I had the head of the Union Pacific Railroad in my office and I said, so what do you think? You go to every city, you have railroads in every, you are the biggest railroad, beautiful railroad, he's a great guy. I said, what do you think? He said, sir, save Chicago, don't let it go down, save it. The way he said it was so meaningful to me. It was so like, it was like terrible. In a way, it was terrible. Save Chicago. You know, who would ever think that we'd be sitting here talking about saving Chicago? Chicago's a great city. They have a terrible mayor. Terrible. He's at like 5% approval rating. He's an incompetent person. They have an incompetent governor, in my opinion. He's incompetent. 11 people get shot, and he says crime isn't a good shot. I mean, they're losing 4, 5, 6 people a week, getting killed by bullets, by knives. And then he says how wonderful it is, Chicago. So, well, it might be wonderful for him. I think they're afraid. Look, he's not a stupid guy. I really believe they're afraid to say, politically, I guess, from an ideology standpoint, from a democratic standpoint, he is afraid to say the fact that they have a very unsafe, very dangerous city. He should say, I'm going to call President Donald Trump and I'm going to ask him to send in the troops, to send in the National Guard and clean this hellhole up. Because Chicago can be a great city again. I'll tell you what, Washington, D.C. is a great place again. It's booming, and the restaurants are booming. And 6 months ago, 7 months ago, nobody could go outside. And even just walking around the White House, people here are thanking me for what I've done. Yeah. They're thanking me. They're saying thank you. I almost know what they mean, because they can walk to work. And even when they took Uber and they took other forms of transportation, they felt unsafe because the car was hijacked while they're in there. They take a car and it's being hijacked as they get into the car. And they did that for safety. And now we have a safe place. You know, we've taken 1,500 people out of career criminals have been taken out of Washington, D.C. And we weren't very nice about it.
Do you know? Mr. President,
I did discuss it, and I don't want to make a comment on it, but Union Pacific is a great railroad, and they want to add a railroad that had a mistake at a place very close to my heart. You know, a lot of people say that that was a place where I got off to a very good start. It was a rough thing that happened. Well, they're trying to buy that railroad that had the problem, and it sounds good to me, to be honest with you. Sounds good to me. I'm a very big fan of the head of the railroad, the head of the Union Pacific. He started as a very low on the totem pole, started his job very low and became the chairman of the company over a 45-year period. But I asked him about different cities. He said, St. Louis is tough. We try, you know, he sort of stops at many of them. There are other groups, yeah, there are other groups. We have some pretty radical groups, and they got away with murder. And also, I've been speaking to the Attorney General about bringing RICO against some of the people that you've been reading about that have been putting up millions and millions of dollars for agitation. These aren't protests. These are crimes, what they're doing, where they're throwing bricks at cars of ICE and Border Patrol. It's something I would do, yeah. If I have support from the people back here, I think it would start with Pam, I think. But I would, if you give me, I would do that 100%. And others also, by the way. But Antifa is terrible.
Are there other groups that you can pick up?
There are other groups, yeah. There are other groups. We have some pretty radical groups, and they got away with murder. And also, I've been speaking to the Attorney General about bringing RICO against some of the people that you've been reading about that have been putting up millions and millions of dollars for agitation. These aren't protests. These are crimes, what they're doing, where they're throwing bricks at cars of ICE and Border Patrol. They come in with a beautiful new car. They're so proud. It's Border Patrol, ICE, you know, it's got whatever it is. And they're throwing rocks at it. And after 50 yards, it looks like an old beat-up vehicle. It was just brand new. It was just bought for the purposes. And they don't have to take that anymore. I let it be known. We'll take responsibility. They don't have to take it anymore. And they don't want to take it. They were told by a past administration, it became almost a culture, if somebody throws a rock at you, do nothing. If somebody spits in your face, do nothing. And I say, when they spit, you hit. Do whatever you want. You do whatever the hell you want. I watched it so sick it made me. For 4 years, I had to sit home and watch people screaming at policemen and spitting in their face, and they weren't able to do anything. They just had a grin and bear. They're standing up like a piece of steel. And a woman, in many cases, women, you can see they're professional agitators. I had one the other night. I had 4 the other night, all in one group, total phonies. I started to scream when I got into a restaurant, oh, you know, something with Palestine. And I said, well, I'm doing a great job for peace in the Middle East. I should get lots of awards for that, right? With the Abraham Accords and everything else. But a woman just stood up and started screaming. And she got booed out of the place, too. The people, there were a lot of people in the restaurant. I went there to show how safe, and it was safe. I mean, the woman is just a mouthpiece. All she was a paid agitator, and you have a lot of them. And I've asked Pam to look into that in terms of RICO, bringing RICO cases against the criminal RICO, because they should be put in jail. What they're doing to this country is really subversive. Antifa is terrible.
Are there other groups that you can pick up?
There are other groups, yeah, there are other groups. We have some pretty radical groups, and they got away with murder. And also, I've been speaking to the Attorney General about bringing RICO against some of the people that you've been reading about that have been putting up millions and millions of dollars for agitation. These aren't protests. These are crimes, what they're doing, where they're throwing bricks at cars of ICE and Border Patrol.